Today on Listen Up, abortion. Pro-life or pro-choice? People on both sides of the issue are increasingly pro-voice. Exploring a new framework for the abortion debate next. Welcome to Listen Up. I'm Lorna Dueck. Canada's once dormant abortion debate has resurfaced with energy, and we're digging behind the rhetoric to examine the new framework for the abortion debate from a Christian perspective. It all started when Prime Minister Stephen Harper set maternal and child health as the focus for the G8 meetings. The opposition was quick to demand that Canada's foreign aid efforts include abortion for funding. And while that Liberal motion was defeated in Parliament, the issue hasn't gone away. Since 1988, there has been no law restricting abortion in Canada. Now a new generation is demanding to be heard on the issue. Later in the show, we'll hear from that generation, including one of the women behind Pro-Women, Pro-Life. She wants to see a Canada where abortion disappears by choice. And we'll visit with a medical doctor and ethicist to learn about medical advancements over the past 20 years that are informing today's abortion debate. But first, National Post columnist Jonathan Kay shared these thoughts.
It's a proxy debate. We're having a debate about what's essentially a proxy issue. We're too scared yet to have this debate on a political level about actual Canadian legislation. So instead, we're channeling that into a proxy debate about, well, should our money go to fund abortions overseas? And although the argument's been petty, and it's been somewhat distracted and indirect because a lot of it is sort of a surrogate conversation for a conversation we should be having about our own laws, it is at least nice to have intelligent people having discussions like this one about an issue that we've been ignoring for too long.
Well, joining me now are two people who've done a lot of thinking on public attitudes towards government interventions on this issue. Dr. Jean Chamberlain-Froese is an obstetrician-gynecologist, the director of the International Women's Health Program at McMaster University. She's also founder of Save the Mothers. She's dedicated her life to making pregnancy and childbirth safer in the developing world. And the Reverend Joan Wyatt. She's currently Director of Contextual Education at Emmanuel College in Toronto. Her current research is on the rise of feminist practices in the United Church of Canada. And prior to seminary, she worked as a pastor, and prior to that, in nursing and childbirth education. So, ladies, thank you for being with me. And we've just heard Jonathan Kay say what he thinks we're seeing in Canada is a proxy debate. Joan, when the issue of abortion came up and you know, really branded the G8 summit here, is that what was happening? It was like a surrogate conversation. Canadians wanted to talk about abortion, but they were instead doing it on the developing world.
I think there are some Canadians that would like to reopen the abortion debate. I personally am not particularly interested in opening that debate. And I'm not convinced that the majority of Canadian people are interested in that debate at this time.
Jean, because it was maternal health care in the developing world, Africa specifically, that brought this issue to Canadians, what are the realities of maternal mortality in Uganda, in Africa?
Well, maternal mortality is a very big problem across the world. Approximately 500,000 mothers die from pregnancy complications. There's some indication recently that it may be less than that. But if you look at it, it's almost about 1,500 women every day, 3 jumbo jets crashing filled with pregnant women. And these women die of really very simple things: bleeding to death, we call it hemorrhage, infection, treated easily by antibiotics, high blood pressure. Some women also do die of unsafe abortion as well.
So would access to abortion stop this issue of 3 jumbo jets of pregnant women crashing every day?
Well, there's 2 ways of looking at something, and certainly as long I'm a doctor, I realize prevention is really the best strategy. I mean, to go and try to treat something after is really too late. And if you look at abortion, there's 215 million women around the world who want to have access to family planning and can't get it. So what does that mean? There's 75 million women who have unplanned pregnancies, 20 million who end up having an unsafe abortion. So if we put money into family planning and gave these women the family planning that they needed, we would drastically reduce the number of unplanned pregnancies as well as unsafe abortions.
Okay, Joan, your view on that we put the money into birth control, not into abortions. for the developing world?
I don't actually see why it has to be mutually exclusive. I think that the difficulty in the debate is that it is an either-or project. I firmly believe, and the church in which I'm ordained holds that position as well, that we should be and always have put forward that idea, that family planning is key. I think, however, to again decide on behalf of another country and other women about what their priorities are, and to say that abortion will not be a part of that is ungenerous and unhelpful. I think it should be both and not either or.
All right, let's bring this back to Canada now, because a new Ipsos poll has found that nearly half of all Canadians think the federal government should leave things just the way we are. A complete legal vacuum. You can abort a child right up until the moment of a 9-month gestation. No penalty in Canada. Half Canadians say leave it that way. Other half say it's time to relook at that. But a third say they actually do want to see the government involved in reopening the issue of abortion in Canada. Joan, your opinion on that at the United Church of Canada, how would you say that your church would hope to be represented in this issue?
The position that has been articulated in the United Church was debated in the entire decade between the 70s and the 80s. The policy that we currently hold was put into place in the 80s, and it has not been revisited except to offer it, argue for access across Canada, and to take it out of the criminal code. So I would think that the United Church of Canada, because it has not come up as something we care about debating, are not concerned about that.
As a doctor, are there, Jean, medical changes since the debate happened in the 80s that means we should reopen this issue?
Well, it's interesting, just even where I work in Uganda, what is the term of viability, in other words, when a baby can be saved here in Canada is about 23, 24 weeks. Well, in Uganda, they consider an abortion up to 28 weeks because that baby can't even be saved. So here in Canada, we can save them at 24 weeks versus in Uganda, they're considered still to be an abortion at 28 weeks. So there's a huge difference in the medical technology that we have today versus even in certain parts of the world. And if I can come back to Joan's comment about people making choices within their own countries, in most of sub-Saharan Africa, abortion is illegal, and if you ask most Ugandans where I live, they are very opposed to abortion. So when we think about Canadians supporting something that is basically illegal in another country, or coming in and saying, we're going to provide you this service, but it's illegal in their own country, I find that actually a little offensive, because it's like we in the West, again, are coming to tell people in the developing countries, this is what you should do, when actually it's actually illegal in their own country.
All right, obviously we need to continue this more, which we can do online at listenuptv.com. And Reverend Joan Wyatt and Dr. Jean Chamberlain-Froese, thank you both very much for being with us to explore this difficult topic. And when Listen Up returns, a lot has changed in fetal medicine since Canada's abortion law was struck down more than 20 years ago. We'll find out more after this.